Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, today we're talking about the many different types of retirement that exist with the federal government. There's lots of types, and they all have pros and cons, and depending on which you're eligible for when you want to leave the government will determine which benefits you're able to take with you in retirement. So knowing that you're fully eligible for the type of retirement you want is critical. So again, we're going to talk about all of those different types of retirement today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dallin Hawes. I'm a financial planner who serves federal employees just like you every single day, and I love it. So let's dive in. Now, before I get into any specifics, just know there's really two different sides of retirement. There is those for what I call traditional FERS, okay? Traditional FERS. And that's for most federal employees, okay? But there are special provisions as well. Special provision, that's firefighters, air traffic controllers, and law enforcement. You have slightly different rules, which we'll talk about in just a second. But let's start with the traditional folks, okay? There are ways where you can be fully eligible to retire, and that's where we're going to start with. And then there's types of early retirement. Let's start with the full-blown types of retirement. Number one, if you have 30 years of service and retire at your minimum retirement age, which is right around age 57 for most of you. If you just Google MRA chart, you can find what your MRA is, but for you it's probably 56 in some months or age 57 if you are younger, okay? So if you have 30 years at your minimum retirement age, you're fully eligible. But most people, or not most, but many people, they're not eligible by then because they didn't start when they were 27 years old. And so the next potential requirement is age 60. Well, let's start here. 20 years at age 60. Okay? So if you don't hit this first one, you can hit this next one. You just have to hit one of these criteria to have a full retirement. So with 20 years of service at age 60, you are fully eligible to retire as a federal employee, which we like that, okay? Next, with 5 years of service, you can retire at 62 and beyond. So again, you just have to hit one of these and you are fully eligible to retire with and get a pension right away that is unreduced. So as you see, the older you get, right, MRA 60, 62, the fewer years of service you need to be eligible. It goes from 30 down to 20 and then 5. So let's do an example. Let's say you have 15 years of service and you're 59 years old. Are you eligible? No, well, not for this at least, right? You are not eligible for this because with 15 years of service at age 59, you have more than 5 years, but you're not over 62, right? You have to hit both the age and years of service requirement to be eligible, okay? So if you hit one of these, you are good to go. If you don't, there are different types of early retirement that you can qualify for. Let's talk about them. Number one, there is MRA plus 10. And this is when you've hit your MRA, but you don't have 30 years of service as full eligibility requires. If you have at least 10 years of service, you can be eligible to retire. However, your pension has a 5% per year reduction for every year you retire before 62. So for example, if you go under this type of retirement and you are 57 years old, that's how many years before 62? That's 5 years before 62. So 5% multiplied by 5, your pension would have a 25% reduction to it because you went out on this. Now, let me clarify again. There are no reductions to your pension if you have 30 years at your minimum retirement age. It's only when you only have 10, right? 10 or between 10 and 20 or 10 and 30 basically at your minimum retirement age that you have any reductions, okay? So this is a type of early retirement, the downside being you have reductions to your pension. Next, there is what they call a postponed retirement. Postponed retirement. Now, this is really not its own type of retirement. It's a sub-bullet of MRA plus 10, okay? So if you qualify under MRA plus 10, you don't qualify for any of these, but you do here, you can postpone your pension so you avoid the 5% reduction. So for example, let's say you're 57 years old, and if you took your pension right away under MRA plus 10, you'd have a 25% reduction to your pension. But you can postpone your pension, which basically means, hey, I won't take my pension today when I retire, I'll take it later. And when you have to delay depends on how many years of service you have. So if you have 20 or more years of service, you have to delay till 60. If you have less than 20, you or sorry, I wrote 62 and I said 60. If you have more than 20 years old, you got to postpone till 60. If you have less than 20, you have to postpone to 62. Okay? So for example, if you have 20 years of service, you're age 57, you qualify for MRA plus 10 retirement, but if you want to avoid those reductions, then of course you have to postpone when your pension starts. In this case, the example has 20 years until 60. For 3 years, you're not getting a pension, but when your pension does start, there are no reductions to it. And by the way, one thing I didn't mention here, this 5% per year reduction that happens if you retire early, that's a permanent reduction. So if you retire at 57 and have a 25% reduction to your pension, that never goes away. That is permanent. So that's why many people choose to postpone their pension for a few years to avoid that reduction. Okay? That is postponed retirement. Now there's another type of retirement called deferred retirement. Okay? Deferred retirement. Now, deferred and postponed sound very similar, but they are not the same. They are very, very different. For a deferred retirement, the only requirement is that you have at least 5 years of service. That's it. That's all you need. However, as the name suggests, you don't get a pension right away. And by the way, you're going to want to look at these types of retirement in this order, meaning no one's going to want to start here with the deferred retirement if they're already eligible for something above it, because these are all going to be better, right? All these are going to be better than what's below it, okay? A deferred retirement only happens basically if you are beneath your MRA and have at least 5 years of service. And this is how a deferred retirement works. Basically, let's say you're 40 years old and you've got 10 years of service. You don't want to work another 17 years of service or 20 years, whatever it take you to get to age 60 or 57, whatever you want to retire at. And so you say, look, I'm going to leave now. A deferred retirement allows you to leave way early, and still get a pension one day. So, for example, if you are age 40 with at least 10 years of service, or in this example, 10 years of service, you don't get a pension when you leave the government at age 40, but you've got 10 years of service. Down the road when you're 62, you can start a pension based on those 10 years of service. You get something for that time. Now, one thing that I haven't talked about so far, but is really important, is health insurance. Because while under all these types of retirement, you, of course, get a pension, which is great, they all don't come with health insurance. So, for example, a full retirement most of the time comes with full retirement or full health insurance. MRA plus 10 normally comes with full health insurance. Postponed comes with full health insurance, but not while you're postponing your pension. Not while you're postponing your pension. While you're waiting for your pension to start under postponed, you are not covered under any of the federal insurances. But once your pension starts back on under postponed, you can get back into your insurance. With deferred, if you leave the government under deferred, you lose your health insurance and it never comes back. That's one of the key differences between postponed and deferred. And again, to remember the difference, postponed, you have to be first eligible for MRA plus 10, then you can postpone. Deferred generally only happens when someone is under their minimum retirement age, so they're not eligible for anything else. Okay, that's generally when a deferred happens. And a deferred happens when you take that, you have to postpone your pension, you get one later. Okay? So those are the key types of retirement under traditional FERS retirement. Now let's talk really quick about special provisions. So under special provisions, you can retire at 25 years at any age or 20 years at age 50. So if you have at least 20 years of service, at age 50 you can go ahead and retire. Or if we have 25 years, you can go at any age. Again, these years, though, have to fall under the special provision rules. You can't just jump over into special provisions for a couple of years and then retire under these rules. You have to be in special provisions for the 20 years or 25 years at least, okay, to fall under these types of rules. And if you're a special provisions that isn't going to hit your 20 years and you hop over to a traditional FERS role, then you fall under all of these types of retirement, okay? So if you don't qualify fully for this, you just fall back under one of these, depending on what you are eligible for. So those are all the different types of retirement. You probably didn't know there were so many different types, but, by the way, I've done actually multiple videos on each type of these. If you want to know more about postponed, I've done a video just on that. Or deferred, I've done a video just on that. So you can check all those out if you want more details, but that's a summary of what options there are. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.